What else do you want people to know about anything? I love that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We covered it all.
Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Every week, we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions for ideas to enhance your success in all aspects of life. Successful Living with Bill Knapik starts right now. Here's Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Successful Living with Bill Knapik, and today, Successful Living with Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell. They are with a company called Media Systems. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having us.
And our regular contributors. The last episode was tremendous, but here you are. Today, we're going to talk about what you guys do. You have a company called Media Systems. I'm going to say it right off, mediasystems.com. If you're by your computer, you can follow along and get to know Jaclyn and Donnie as they have a tremendous website. I love your bios and all the menu of services.
It took us a long time to get that URL as well.
Yeah, mediasystems.com. I bet a lot of people would have liked to have had that one.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's tell people, Media Systems, if they don't know, you're right here in Houston, Texas. Let's tell people about your company.
So my uncle started Media Systems in 1980, and it was a whole different world back then. He was doing things like alarm systems and phones and gate intercoms, home technology. Hi-fi.
Yeah, remember that word, hi-fi?
Yeah, home theaters.
Transistors.
A lot of the things that were around in the 80s. And as a kid, I thought, man, this is so cool. We would go watch movies in his showroom, which was like a private screening room theater, just amazing. But we've seen such a tremendous transition in that world where it's gone from low-tech, to everything being connected to the networks and to the internet, and it's just a completely different world. We do a lot of the same things that were done back then, but we do so much more now. We've had to become IT people, really, in order to keep up with the technology that is required in a home today.
And let's tell people about your roles, husband and wife team, in an incredible way. But Donnie, your role in the company is?
I'm the CEO of the company, and Jaclyn's our CFO, so we kind of co-lead together. And we've got another guy that's our CTO, and he's the smartest person I've ever met in my life. He's just like, the biggest nerd in the best way.
Well, we all complement each other.
That's right.
We obviously have the same goal in mind, and we just work really well together. We like to hang out with each other, so that makes it easy.
It makes it fun, and we always want to have fun when we're employed in our profession. We want to have a good time, and when we have a good time, theoretically, we do better work for ourselves and for our clients.
And we really treat it like a family. I think I read many years ago that your satisfaction, your work-life satisfaction is more tied to the environment and the people that you work with than it is even to the task that you do. So, you could be selling insurance and love your job. If you're working with people that you love to work with, that's a big deal. So we're very thoughtful, just like we are with our family and our own children. We're very thoughtful about trying to protect that environment and the relationships and the way people are taken care of and treated in the company.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your role, Jaclyn, let's tell people a little bit more about that, because outside of Media Systems, also you're both very talented. We can get into that a little bit later as far as hobbies and also other things that you're doing for your profession. But as far as what you're doing on a day-to-day, Jaclyn, what are some of those things?
Well, officially I handle all the money, which
kind of important.
It's very important because, you have to make sure that you're not spending money that you don't have. So we don't purchase anything for a job without getting a deposit first. And I'm pretty OCD, so I'm really organized with all of that, which that's the big job. But we do sales together. Mostly, I think it helps having a woman present on any kind of meeting, because a lot of times we'll meet with a couple and the wife will just go, I hate this stuff. I don't want to be here. They start with that.
And they're referring to the nature that it's high tech
technology,
and it's getting more complicated.
They don't want to know. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They just want it to work. They don't want to have questions. They don't want to feel stupid for asking a question. And so part of the purpose for me to be there is just to make them feel comfortable. Like we're passionate about helping people. So when we get into a meeting, we make that clear to them. I usually small talk with the wife and ask if they have kids and where do you go to church, anything like that.
We end up being marriage counselors.
Oh my gosh, yes. We're always a marriage counselor. But we have to figure out, what does she want? What does he want? They're almost never communicating. And so we kind of take something different from the meeting and figure out how to make that work for both of them.
So as people are listening, whether they're right here in Houston or beyond, let's clarify kind of exactly what you do, because when we think of media systems, that can mean so many things. But let's tell people, what is it exactly that you're doing in some of the menu that you're offering to people around right here in Houston?
Yeah, it's basically any of the technology in your home. So your Wi-Fi system, music, TVs, lighting control. One of our favorite things to do is when we leave the house, we hit the away button. And that turns off every light in the house, turns off all the TVs, all the music. If anything is left on somewhere, it is off, including upstairs closets that you may not even know are turned on. But the point is that we want it to be easy for people. So you shouldn't have to, read a script and learn how to control your house. You should just naturally be able to walk in, touch a button, and your shades open up. Or
if
your
you have to
drapes.
take a class or refer to a list or instructions about how to use the technology in your home, you didn't hire us.
Yeah.
you hired somebody else.
So you're making things easy for people because, like you were saying earlier, when I press a button, when I want to watch Netflix, I don't want to read the manual. I want it to work. And if it doesn't work, I don't want to have to go and try to figure it out. That's a big way you're helping people every day.
Yeah.
We say that our mission really in life is we believe that the technology in your home should be easy to use, beautifully designed, and unbelievably reliable. Those three things are what we're trying to accomplish in the home.
And Jaclyn, you're talking about the control and keeping a watchful eye on money. That's the lifeblood of our personal finances and our day-to-day, how we're healthy and able to do things, have certain freedoms. But as far as a business, that's the lifeblood of a business.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the home, it's become the lifeblood is our Wi-Fi.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the beating heart that when it goes down, you're like, hey, wait a minute. What happened?
Especially in the last 2 years, since most people have been working from home and school from home and all of these things, I mean, you've got to have solid Wi-Fi. Now, we can't control Comcast or AT&T or whoever's bringing the service to your house. They are their own thing, but we can control how it works in the home.
In fact, on your website, if I recall, it says rock solid Wi-Fi or some other thing related to Wi-Fi.
One of the things that's really been a game changer for us in that area is the ability to provide remote management and maintenance of a system. So one time I was, Bill and we play in the band together at Second Baptist. One time it was...
For years,
many years,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and so one night, it was a Saturday night, I remember, and it was during the welcome, and I got a text message from a client saying, my Wi-Fi is not working. And so I went to my app, I pulled up his home, I could see all of the access points creating the Wi-Fi, I could see all the devices connected to the system. I could see very healthy network speed. And so I texted him back and I said, what's not working? He said, well, my wife can't connect with her iPad, she says. I said, is it a new iPad? And he said, yes, she just got it. I said, okay, well, here's the name of the network and the password. Give that to her and see if it works. And then he texts back and says, that's it worked, thanks. But he started with my Wi-Fi doesn't work. So if it had been 5 years ago, I would have said, I'm so sorry.
We'll go to the house.
We'll have to drive out there and we'll have to see what's going on to find out what the problem is. But today, I could do a service call during the welcome. During that 2-minute break, I could do a service call and verify that his network is solid and healthy, and I could help him get connected. And that was the whole service call.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about a lot of our businesses live and breathe on referrals. So I'm thinking of this individual you're describing, where he might be telling a friend, the other night, my Wi-Fi just went down. Well, what did you do? I called Donnie at Media Systems, and he took care of it from afar.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was back up and running. So that's a good thing right there.
We are referral based. I mean, most people that we work for have either been with us for a long time, or it's their son or daughter or their neighbor, something like that.
And I'll add too, and you could embellish this as if you would, but around Houston, there's a lot of wealth in Houston, Texas, and many other cities. But we're the fourth largest city. They're saying soon to be the third, and there's no shortage of Bentleys, Rolls-Royce, Lamborghinis, all those things. There's a lot of wealth here, bottom line. High-end restaurants. I'm getting hungry. Sorry. It's lunchtime. So all that said, you're serving the clients, the people that are the wealthiest, so you're in their homes. These are very demanding people, and also they most likely have complicated systems where they need your help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too that not everything that we do is expensive, and not everybody, everyone that we work for cares about the same thing. So, we may have somebody come in that is a hi-fi junkie and really wants some incredible sound in a room, but their house is only 3,000 square feet. Well, if your house is that size, then usually the equipment that you get from Comcast or AT&T is adequate to provide the network needs that they have, Wi-Fi and such. But when your home gets to be 6,000 square feet, then the products that you get from the service provider or the DIY things that are out on the market generally don't cut it. And so we come in and we're able to create a network the way that you would do it in a professional office building, the same way in a home. But not everybody cares about the same thing. So some people would come in and they want a theater room. Another person comes in and they just want very clean TVs installed and something easy to use. Somebody else might come in and they want cameras. So there's quite a bit of variety that we provide for people. Not everybody cares about the same thing.
We were talking to a builder yesterday who, I love what he said, and we need to write it down or something. But he said something like, I love that you can come into a meeting and talk to people, figure out what they want, and they can go anywhere from this tiny little Ford to this super awesome custom Ferrari. It's like, obviously we're not doing cars, but like if you think of it, we can do some tiny little job, something small for somebody, or just customize their entire house and make something huge.
Which brings the question, as far as people listening now, and as there's many things you do, Wi-Fi is one of them. At what point does someone need your help, or who is the customer that's going to call you? They don't have to be the billionaire or millionaire of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a big house either. I think some people are hands-on with technology and some are not. Some people just want it to work and not to think about it. I use this illustration a lot that I don't work on cars anymore. And I don't mow lawns anymore. I have somebody that does that, and they're frankly a lot better at that than I am, and it's worth it to me to have somebody taking care of that. And in many cases, we're doing that where somebody could be, maybe they have a small house and they could manage a DIY solution, but we like to say that the worst thing about DIY is you got to do it yourself.
Right. And think about when you do take on a do-it-yourself project, many times when I've done that, it's like, oh, here's another avenue that you think here's the problem. Then you find other problems. Next thing you know, you lose a lot of time, and many times you just call the professional to fix your mistakes.
And your time is probably more valuable, where it may be just fine to pay somebody to do that, and you go back to work and do better anyway. So that's when a house gets to be a certain size, then I think you for sure need to be thinking about a professional solution for Wi-Fi and networks. Another is ease of use, where a lot of the DIY systems that are out there, the things that you can buy off the shelf, there's a learning curve involved in it. And so, music, for example, we provide systems where we like to say they're geriatric approved and they're toddler approved. So anybody can walk in and hit a button, turn on the music, and not have to have a class to learn how to do it. Another thing we do is we get rid of clutter. We're able to give you a system that has one remote control that controls the TV and does everything that you need to do.
We like to call that the mother-in-law remote.
That's right.
Because literally, my mom can come over and watch the kids, and she knows the remote. All she has to do is hit the button that says cable. That's it. And it's usually still on whatever she watched last, because we don't watch cable very often. But
and in new construction, many times we're working with a builder, with an architect, with a designer, and the designer will come in and say, okay, I want this TV to look, very clean, very beautiful. We talk about window treatments. We should also be talking about the TV treatment. What are you doing with it to make that look clean and beautiful and nice? And many times we're working with an architect or a designer or a builder in order to get those things put together in a nice way.
That's right. Many people have the TV is a big part of their home, certainly part of the entertainment. But many times you look at a picture of a home with a TV and it's like, it doesn't look, there's wires hanging everywhere, or it's undersized, or
just a big black box on the wall.
Yeah.
there's a way to handle that. I'm not sure what it is, but you guys do.
Sure, yeah. You can add a frame around it or get one of the picture frame style TVs. We can put them in lifts. I mean, we can hide them in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other thing on your website, we're talking with Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell with Media Systems. If you're at your computer or when you go to it, mediasystems.com, it's that easy, mediasystems.com. On the website, you had a term I saw this morning that I've not seen before, and that's called wall acne. So, all right, if you're driving and you just pulled off the road, yeah, that's right. It's a term, wall acne. What is that? Let's tell people.
It's all the stuff on your walls. Like, think of a home where you have several different lights around the house and you got light switches on every corner. You got to walk all over the place to hit these buttons to turn lights on and off. We just like to hide those and make it where it's, a one gang. We call that a one gang when it's just one switch on the wall. It might have several buttons, but you can hide all of those switches. If you have this nice custom wallpaper or paint job, and then you have 6 or 7 switches in a row, it just doesn't look nice like the rest of the house. So we like to cut that down, narrow it down to just one.
Which kind of brings up the topic of lighting controls. I like to remind people that we don't, roll our windows up the same way in the car like we used to, with those manual
You're too young to
deals.
remember that. I remember that.
I even had one of those.
Okay.
Nowadays, we hit a button and the window goes up or it goes down.
And it's reliable, too, by and large.
Right. And lighting is really changing where we don't ever think, I would never have a need to think about turning on the chandelier in my dining room. I just don't think that way. I think I'm having people over, I'm going to hit the entertain button or the home button, and all the lights in the downstairs are going to come on. They work together as a group or as a scene in a way. And so, the kids go to bed, and we have this voice assistant called Josh AI. And you can look them up on the web too. Josh.ai is the website, and it's very secure, very private. They're not data mining you. We can say, okay, Josh, the kids are in bed. And it'll respond with, "That's relief."
And they'll go, "Hey!"
So it has a personality, it keeps you entertained.
Yeah, but when we do that, then all the lights dim down in the whole downstairs and common areas of the house. If we wanted, we could attach shades to that. We can make TVs turn off. We can do whatever's connected to the system. We can attach it to that command, and so we're not walking around the house at night at bedtime finding all the light switches. When we're getting ready to leave the house, we're not walking around thinking about, did I leave
nice
the clock?
Convenience feature.
We would have to go to like 7 different places to turn all the downstairs lights off if we didn't have a lighting control system.
Yeah.
And I'll add to tell people this: you are a busy couple professionally with your company, Media Systems, but also your parents with 3 children and the dog.
Yeah.
so there's a lot of switches and there's a lot of movement at the house, I'm guessing, at any given time, unless you're sleeping.
Sure.
So a lot of balls in the air. But the other thing I'm thinking of, lighting, you're talking about drapes. Years ago, my son and my father, we all took a trip to Las Vegas right when the Bellagio Hotel first opened. Long story short, we were upgraded because I was having trouble with the first room that we had. Where we're connected rooms, I'm hearing noises, the hotel's brand new. Long story short, I said, hey, look, I called the next day, we're going to be here 3 more nights. Anyway, we could get a different room. I'm hearing some sounds. So they said, yes, Mr. Knapik, we'll take care of that. So they, back whatever year that was, they put a number in my key and they said, look, just go up to this room. You have a brand new room. The bell captain will meet you. And I said, well, do I have to come down and change the key? Oh, no. Even back then, they were able to assign a new number to it. So we went up there, opened up the door. My son said, who did you talk? This was like 2 bedrooms, a suite, a bar, a dining room. I mean, we were upgraded in a tremendous way. But the thing was, these conveniences, sometimes we don't know we need them until we have them. Yeah, so that was the only time I've been in a room where I had the electric drapes.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun, experimenting at first, like, hey, Blake, look over here.
Yeah.
The drapes are moving. That's like a lot of fun. Great convenience feature.
That's probably my favorite thing at this point. I mean, the lighting for sure, but
lighting's going to be fun.
in our bedroom, I mean, you know, we've got neighbors and street lights and whatever else. And so there's always light coming into the room. And so we have motorized shades and drapes. We have a blackout shade, and then we have a sheer shade in front of that. And then we have the drapes in front of that, just for like any little bit that might come through, even on the blackout. There's always a corner that comes through.
So you really seal it up,
and
huh?
I'm telling you, if it's 2 p.m. and I need a nap, I can walk in there and hit this button, and my room is pitch black.
Nice.
You can't see anything except for the power strip for the computer that's in there now.
Wellness is a real trend in our industry too, and I believe that we really do sleep better than we did before we had full blackout in the bedroom.
That's a good point. I mean, there's, even in terms of sound, I'm sure those drapes and the combination of window coverings you have help the sound as well. And quite frankly, this world, I don't know what it was like 100 years ago or whatever. However, it's pretty noisy.
Yeah.
And silence is truly golden.
Yeah, absolutely.
We even have our lights ramp up to about 30% in the morning before our alarm goes off. So when the alarm goes off, there's a little bit of light, and our body is already starting to wake up by the time the alarm is off.
Interesting. That's where we're at here today, 2020. Wonder what's going to be like 20 years from now. And you all go.
Well, I can tell you
what's going to happen.
One of the trends.
Because you go to all the things.
We use voice control for lots of things now, but most of what we're doing is something that we tell the system we want to do. And I think that where we're headed with artificial intelligence is more predictive care, where I'll just walk in the home, the system knows I'm home, and it turns on whatever I normally would want it to turn on. Now, today I walk in and I either hit the home button or I say, okay, Josh, I'm home. And then all the lights come on we have a Crestron system in our home that is controlled by the voice assistant. And so everything comes on that I want to come on, and it's not thinking about me and what I might need, but I believe the future of artificial intelligence is predictive care.
Remember the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey? Okay, now, the HAL 9, was it the HAL 9000? But I love that line, the line where technology took on its own mission and its own goals.
I used to see it that way, like the movie where there's this one be-all, end-all creature, intelligent computer that was in charge of everything, but I don't see it that way anymore. I think it's a community. I think I'm using Apple for my phone and in my computer, and I have all this integration with that. I'm using Josh to control my home. It's talking to a Crestron system that is also very smart. So there are these different systems that work together and talk together, and it's not just this one, freaky, scary.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. That'll jeopardize the mission. Like, what?
I can't do that, Dave.
That was a great part. I love that line. And also, just looking back, that was 2001. We're way beyond that.
Yeah, that's right.
So as far as keeping up to date, technology, people struggle with it. Yeah, we just want it to work. But that's so complicated. How do you your company, Media Systems, mediasystems.com, how do you stay up with the ever-changing world? It's got to be a challenge.
It is, yeah. I feel like we are always learning. You can't stop learning. We go to trade shows throughout the year, not as much in the last 2 years, but we go to CEDIA, which is it's basically our network of people who do what we do. All the vendors that we use, they go show their new products and all the things that they have for the year.
They had a local show a couple of months ago that we went to.
That's true. We did do a local show, yeah. We go to CES, which is more consumer electronics. And while it's not necessarily the products we sell, we still have to know what's going on in the world and what people are looking for and what they want.
I think the manufacturers are incredible. There's no college degree for our industry. Our people are tradesmen. Like being an electrician or being a plumber, you've got to go be mentored and be taught how to do it. And as technology evolves and changes, the manufacturers really want us to understand what they're doing. There was a trend, I want to say, 8 or 10 years ago, when the motorized shade companies came after our industry and said, we've got these designers that are wonderful and we need them to be helping homeowners find fabrics, but we need somebody that understands the control side of this. So can we teach you how to do that? Will you sell our product? And they've done such a wonderful, Crestron, in fact, is one in particular that really does a wonderful job of making sure that the dealers that are out there selling the product understand what the product can do and how to make it work reliably.
Yeah, that's very important. So as far as the things coming down the pike, do you have any revelations or something that's going to be big that you can talk about from a technology standpoint that perhaps your clientele is going to jump on?
We had an opportunity to work with Sony on some new products that were coming out, and they just came out with one of those deals. So we were in a kind of a focus group with some other dealers around the country. We went to California to visit with them. And
it was supposed to be Japan. They were going to send us to their headquarters, but that was March of 2020.
Yeah.
So ended up going to their headquarters in San Diego.
There were really two products that they brought to our attention that they wanted to know if we would sell it. And one of them we can't tell you about because it's not out yet. But the first one was a frame system that they could provide that would go around a television, so that like the Samsung products are very tight to the wall. They're very flat TVs, and when you stand along the side of it, you don't see the back. The frame TV, for example, is one that'll do that, and it's just a beautiful product. Well,
and those are only about an inch thick.
Yeah, that's right. They're very thin. And so Sony has come out with a product that competes with that, where it's a frame system that you can put around an existing model TV to make it hug the wall very tightly. And in their research, they discovered that people care more about a clean look than they care about how flat the TV actually is. There's another brand called Leon. It's leonspeakers.com. They've got this product called an Edge Media Frame that does a similar thing, but they have all different kind of woods and finishes that they can provide that go around TVs. But that just having a very clean look is has been a trend for a long time, and that's something brand new that's come out. As far as futuristic technologies go, I think that there's a lot of things that we have right now. I think we've gone through this growth season, and I think a lot of the things that we have right now are things that we've been waiting for a long time. But I believe that the future things are going to get, but just better quality, better reliability, and faster. That's what I see coming, and that predictive technology with artificial intelligence, I'm looking forward to that coming along the pike too.
In fact, a word just came to my mind in thinking along the lines, I don't know anything about the future except that I'm going to guess it might have something to do with streamline, back to the idea of clean and decluttered, whatever happens in
I'll
the
say
smart
this
home.
too, that the mentality is that wireless is the future. And I would push back against that. And I would say that in 100 years, if you can get a wire, you're
More dependable, right?
Yeah, right. And you're reducing the burden on the Wi-Fi. If you're able to connect an Ethernet cable to an Apple TV and get the network connectivity that way rather than depending on the wireless is available for things that can't have an Ethernet cable connected to it, like your phone or your iPad. So you're reducing the burden on Wi-Fi by connecting everything to a wire that can be connected with a wire. So I would say that I think that's a universal principle, even going forward, that we still want things to be connected with wires as best as we can.
And when you told me that about a year ago, I changed over to in my media room to have a wire. I went back to the wire. I was thinking I was outsmarting things, but I went back to the wire. Donnie and Jaclyn Boutwell. That's right. You're married. We said that at the beginning of the show. And what's interesting is, how does that work in a business? Because you do so many things together.
Yeah.
And I would think it has advantages, maybe a disadvantage or two, but I can't imagine that knowing you guys. But how does it work, and how do you all work together so well in case there's other people working together that are married? Maybe they need a helping hand.
That's funny. We were talking about that this morning because everybody asks us that, like, how do you do it?
Well, you're the nicest people to be around as you're together. I'm serious.
Thanks.
I've known you a while. And
Yeah.
also individually, I just enjoy being in your company in any combination thereof.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual. But I like hanging out with him too. I mean, that's kind
That's the secret.
That's really what it is. We also, when we were talking about it this morning, we realized this has always been what we've always worked together. Not necessarily at the same job, but like when we first got married, I was young, I was in college, and then I got pregnant right away, and I stayed home with our first baby, and he was working out of the house. We had a recording studio in Nashville. So, I mean, even though he was at work during the day, he was still home. We were eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together every single day. And then it wasn't until we moved here to Houston that he was off at a job, and I was home for about 3 years. I had the second and third baby, and I did a little bit of photography. So I was doing some things on my own.
She says a little bit.
A little bit. Okay, I'm thinking.
She had billboards all over Houston.
Wow.
She was doing real estate photography and very successful at it.
Well, thank you. But yeah, that was just like the girls were in Mother's Day out, and I could go drive around the city and shoot these houses and edit during nap time. But I think it was only 3 or 4 years that we weren't together all day, every day.
My uncle said, is there any way Jaclyn could come help in the office? Because, one person was leaving and we were trying to hire somebody else to fill that position. And so the thought was if she understood the books and how to do all this here, then that'd be a good buffer or transition.
Just as somebody in the family knew the business side of it. So I just went to help for a couple of weeks, and that was like 8 years ago. So
And here you are. And how many years have you been married?
17 almost.
Wow.
This summer will be 17.
And like you said, the key is you're having fun.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we like to hang out, and
it seems very natural for us to work together. I'm a little bit different in the way that I think and operate, where and maybe this is kind of a difference between guys and girls a little bit, but I'm all in or I'm not. And so when at night, she would say that she can multitask and think about different things, but I can't. So she knows that if there's something stressful happening at work, that it's probably not a good idea to mention it to me at 9 o'clock at night, because I'm going to obsess about it.
Could disrupt your
He'll
sleep.
think about it the whole night. And for me, I can be watching a movie.
You can turn it off.
And I can be, wait, I thought about this thing, and I can bring it up, and then I can turn it off because I talked about it for a minute, and I can go back to watching my show. It doesn't affect anything else.
I'm also a people pleaser to a fault, and so if I ever I have any idea that a customer has an issue or there's a problem that they're frustrated about, it just destroys me. That's why I can't manage our service department. Because,
but this is why we're a good balance.
There's your balance.
We know each other.
I would have to be in counseling 3 times a week if I managed our service department, because I want so bad for people to be happy with us. And so it helps me that she can balance me out and say, well, that's not our fault. We can't control Comcast. We can't control
Well, you also
AT&T.
can't control unhealthy people.
That's right. Yeah, and
Or any people.
And it's a good realization to know that sometimes people aren't happy with you because they're just not happy. Period. And that's tough for me to
Right.
grasp that, because I want everybody to be happy with us and to be.
Well, I'm more like you, Donnie. I have a thing. Don't tell me any bad news after 6 p.m. In the morning, tell me, and I'll deal with it.
You
But
can't
after
first thing in the morning with him either. He's got to have his coffee. He's got like an hour of just let him be. And I am like, I can wake up and just start talking. Like I can jump right in. I wouldn't consider myself a morning person, but once I'm up,
I think one of the principles there is that we are such a good balance for each other, and we're able to anticipate each other's needs.
That's the thing, is learning each other. Have you read the 5 love langulanguages? I don't remember what it.
Yeah,
what's the
5
book?
love.
years
Is that what it's
ago,
called?
yeah.
It's so good. Just learning how people speak and how they I know how to say things to him for him to hear it in the way he needs to hear it. Same with the kids. Like, you have to know how people are.
Each one of your children are different.
Oh
you
my
talk
gosh,
to them in
they're
a certain
so
way.
yeah, they're so different.
I'm never going to say to her, you need to hurry, we have to go. I'm going to say, can I make you breakfast? Or do you want me to grab that for you? Or,
But now I know if he ever says, "Is there anything I can do for you?" It's we need to go. But I'm not offended because he is trying to help. Like he actually makes my breakfast almost every morning.
To communicate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah.
We're talking with Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell, MediaSystems.com. We're going to take a short break and come right back. Are you having trouble getting the Wi-Fi to work in your home? You know, if the home is over 4,000 square feet, it's going to be really tough to get the box from the service provider to do the job for you. Let me tell you about Jaclyn and Donnie from Media Systems. They have a team of high-tech professionals that know how to solve this. They also work on all kinds of home automation systems like Crestron, Lutron, and Control4. Look, if you don't mow your own yard or work on your own car, why are you wasting time with this stuff? Call Jaclyn and Donnie, your home technology advisors, and have their team take care of this for you. Media Systems has been in business for 40 years in Houston, and they're ready to help. Check them out at MediaSystems.com, MediaSystems.com, or call 713-426-0900, 713-426-0900, MediaSystems.com. And welcome back. Successful Living with Bill Knapik. And today, Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell with Media Systems, MediaSystems.com, a powerful husband and wife team. Their company is doing incredible things all over Houston every day outside of work, guys. And you love your work. I like what John Maxwell said. He says it's not work unless you'd rather be doing something else. So, hey, that's a good word, I think, and a good barometer. However, outside of work, helping people with their systems and that, you have hobbies, and you also have other things that you like to do. And I'll tell people right up front, Donnie, you are a gifted percussionist from Nashville, Tennessee, doing recordings and so many other things in the music world. You perform, as you said earlier, you and I play Second Baptist in the band for many years. Jaclyn, we talked about your photography just a little bit, but you are a very professional photographer. You've been in business as a photographer, homes, real estate, even political events with the who's of who's. And you're just, not only that, to me, I mean, you're in the upper range of all the real big cameras. So let's tell people, Jaclyn, first about photography and some of your other interests.
Yeah, I have always loved photography. It's what I went to college for. And back then, I didn't really know what I would do with that. It's not like I thought it would be lucrative or anything. I mean, a lot of creative arts are not that lucrative. And back in the day, I was doing lots of bands and models because we were in Nashville, but we were all starving artists. So we were all helping each other. And so when I moved here, Donnie's mom was selling houses, and she wanted me to help her. I kind of went into it thinking, great, it's like a house. Well, how fun can that be? And I actually really loved it. I don't miss doing it, but I liked doing it when I was doing it. I got to learn the city that way too. I drove all over, but it's nice to walk into a place. Everything's beautifully set by a designer or however it was set up, and I could take these pictures, and everybody was happy with them. You know, when you take pictures of people, like portraits and things, nobody likes their face. I mean,
that's not my good side. Would you hold the camera higher? Would you do this?
There's here you go, taking a picture of me, and I'm probably going to be like, gross, But we all do that. We all have, these issues with ourselves. Now, what I do like taking pictures of is people doing their craft, whatever that thing is. So that Christmas show at Second Baptist, I had shot during just about every service because our kids are in it, and Donnie's in it. So 4 of my family, all in different places on the stage. There was no way to get each of them doing their thing without shooting every service just to get it figured out. And so I love catching people in their moment of the thing that they love doing. So that was really fun.
By the way, you took a few pictures of me. Thank you. That's the first time I had a professional do that, where I was playing the Hammond B3 organ.
Yeah.
Just never say to a photographer, wow, you must have a nice camera.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Because nice cameras don't take great photos.
I mean, it helps, but you still have to know how to use it.
To use it, composition.
Great photographers take great photos, not
it's
great
like
cameras.
telling the chef, wow, it's a great oven.
Yeah.
Like, what does the oven have to do with it?
The best knives.
Well, that's a good point. And you mentioned your children a couple times. We might as well say hi to them. You talk about talent and also part of your team. I mean, many times they say the husband and wife are so instrumental to each other's success, but in your case, you have 3 others, and you work as a powerful team. Even the children are a big part of that. Let's tell people their names.
It's been so interesting for me to see them go different directions and have different interests and become successful at the things that each one of them does. Where Keely, I remember saying to my oldest,
she's almost 16.
Yeah, I remember saying to her one time, if you're not in some design profession, the world is going to be missing out, because she is such a great creative mind. She can...
Even at 3 years old, she would
unbelievable.
cut fabric and tape it to her dolls because we didn't, at that point, obviously wouldn't let her have a sewing machine.
Yeah.
And so she would design these dresses and like tape buttons and everything, or staples, whatever she needed to do.
So I don't know. We don't know exactly where
creating.
she's going to end up, but she has so many directions she could go with such a great ability to design and create.
She's also a
things.
straight A student with 3 honors classes.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right.
I mean,
she could be a chemist if she wanted
Yeah,
to be.
chemistry is her easiest class, she
Yeah.
said. I was like, please do that so it can pay for your art.
They can fund your art.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then Rylan is our middle daughter. She's just turned 13, so 2 teenagers in the house and all girls. So that's a lot of hormones happening. But
There's a lot of crying in the house, and it's
yeah.
usually me.
And so Rylan, she's a typical middle child in that she wants to do everything. She's got to prove herself, and she's really good at art too, but she's more into sports and acting. She loves acting.
And playing instruments.
And instruments, yeah. She plays the drums. For their school band, it's a 7th through 12th grade band, and she's in 7th grade, and she is the drummer.
She asked me
She's
one
of the
time,
drummers.
what grade do you have to be to get to play with the high school band at the ball games? I don't know if she even remembers the conversation. And I said, well, Rylan, it's not about how old you are. It's about how good you are. And they had her as a middle schooler right away playing with the high school
In the
band.
drum line.
Yeah, in the drum line.
Granted, it's a small school, and there's like 8 drummers in the drum line,
Yeah.
but she kept up. I mean, she did
And
great.
she would
with
play
that.
drum set where a lot of high school kids didn't want they were afraid to be that out front playing drum set, and she was totally comfortable with it.
And then Cameron is our youngest. She's 11 and super petite, just a tiny little thing. And she has been into dance since she was born. I mean, she loves dance. And so she's now in, it's called The Company, which is like they go around, performing at different events, usually at church and stuff. And she's great. She made it onto point this year, which is, like when you go to a ballet and they're all the way up on their toes.
Wow.
That's what she's doing this year.
It's kind
That's
of
incredible.
a rite of passage as a ballet dancer to, if you ever knew anybody that did ballet, they have to work a long time to develop the skills and the muscular ability to do that. And then when they make that transition, they get their point shoes. It's a big deal. And she's very young to be doing point, and she's incredible.
She's not
Just
ruining her
incredible.
feet yet. It's only like 30 minutes a week on that shoe. So for anybody listening who knows what that is,
But she follows in her sister's footsteps too, making things. She does some
knitting and crocheting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they all do that kind of stuff. Then it's maybe an interesting point in that, we don't allow the kids to bring devices upstairs, iPhones or anything.
So that's a certain sacred ground, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like, we're very conscientious about the dangers of what can happen with kids online, and so we're very thoughtful about that. But so they have to leave their devices downstairs. They don't get to bring them to their room. And I think the wonderful consequence of that is that they've learned how to do some awesome things because they didn't have their phone in their hands. So
Bored kids get creative.
yeah, they knit, they sew, they draw. They play instruments. They do all kinds of things that they wouldn't have had the time to do if they had the phone in their hand.
That's a good point. We've got about 8 minutes or so left. As far as, and that's the other thing, technology, we talk about the joys, the conveniences, blocking out light, music, all these things. But at the same time, technology has dangers, especially as a parent in this world. Who knows what kind of stuff they could come upon on the internet, on a telephone. texting, all these things. What do you do as parents for people out there listening that want to be on guard or enable perhaps things? What do you do?
It's a big problem. I would just start by saying that parents aren't aware many times about how dangerous it is. You want to tell her about Deborah?
Yeah. So we have a client that several years ago, our oldest was maybe 12 at the time, I guess, and we were just starting to get into some devices. She had a phone she kind of used sometimes, and a client of ours was also a friend. Her daughter almost got trafficked. She accidentally gave the wrong address to the guy who was going to pick her up. And her mom happened to see it on that day.
It was through Pinterest
Pinterest
of all things.
And there's like a chat. You can chat through Pinterest. So besides coming across things like pornography and all these other, horrible things you don't want your children seeing, there's trafficking and everything else.
70% of children encountering pornography on the web are finding it accidentally. They're not looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we believe it's very important to start with, to at least have a content filter on your home Wi-Fi network. Basically, it's a rating that you can apply to the network. So you can say, my network is PG. So if I want to go, gun shopping or find a margarita recipe, I got to go turn that off to go look for that, But it's going to at least keep that Wi-Fi network down to a particular rating. So that's the first level that we would really encourage all parents to do, is to set a content filter.
And can anybody do that?
Pretty much.
I mean, there's some people that may not even know you can do it. But
most Comcast, AT&T, those kind of places, they offer some options of that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't all have the same thing, but everybody has something on there. The second tier of that, which is super helpful and free, is whether you're Apple or Android, they both have parental controls built in. And we're Apple family, so I know that a little better.
Are there people that don't have Apple phones?
I guess there are some out there.
I don't understand that. I love the Apple phone.
But
go ahead.
with the Apple, you can create a family account, and so the kids can have an Apple ID under you, and then you can set up screen time, which you have to have a password on there that they don't know. Don't put your birthday, because they'll figure it out, even if it's your birthday backwards, because it happened to me. But you can set up, maybe there's no web searching at all, or you can limit adult websites. You can put time limits on it. You can block particular websites or apps. You can block all social media if you wanted. It's not just being worried that they're going to be trafficked. It's also just their mental health.
Right.
If they can easily get addicted to that and just spend all day on it. Our kids even see me. I put a 30-minute timer on my social media, and they see it pop up, and it'll say, you've reached the end of your limit. I'm like, okay, well, I'm done for the day. So it's good for them to see that I do it for myself.
There's one last layer of protection that we feel like is very important, and that's to use a monitoring service. The one that we prefer is called Bark. And
B-A-R-K?
B-A-R-K.
Bark.us is their website.
That's right. And so it's an AI monitoring service that looks for flags. So, for example, it'll find bullying. It'll find drug use, if there's pornography or nudity.
Self-harm, cussing. I mean, it's everything. And it even goes as far as, it'll find a handwritten word that was, if you take a picture of a handwritten word, it will find that.
There's no way.
So it's pretty thorough.
There's no way as a parent for you to keep up with all the content coming and going from your child's device. There's no way. So by having this AI connected and tracking that, it'll send you the things that it thinks that you should review. So every day you get a list. You should look at this and see if it's a problem. But it's not all the content. There's no way for you to keep up with all the content.
And I would think, too, the customers you're serving, every now and then, one of the things they might ask for is, hey, look, we have children, grandchildren, come over here, build some things in, or that happens?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It comes up all the time. And you can't, none of these have all of the things built in. That's why we feel like there are 3 different layers to this. There are 3 ways to do it. I like Bark because it lets the kids use their devices with some freedom, but then I'm just alerted when something comes up. Most of it's no big deal, but at least I have a bird's eye view of the things they're talking
And then
about.
when you all go upstairs and keep the devices downstairs, you can review, hey, guys, is there anything on your mind, or why did you look at it, or
Think
whatever.
about this.
Oh, yeah.
Communication.
If you've got a teenager at home and one of their friends says, send me a naked picture, the response that our kids
And
are
that
going to have,
happens.
it
Oh,
does
yeah.
all the time. Our kids are going to have to say, I'm in the kitchen and my dad is standing right here. You know, they're not in their bedroom at 2 a.m. being pressured to do that sort of thing. They're downstairs and we're in the room, so they're not going to be able to do that.
Well, I have 2 teenagers at the house. That's Callie and Ellis, and they each have 4 legs, so I never have to worry. They're never on the internet. They have specific instructions. Guys, we have about 3 minutes left. Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell with Media Systems, mediasystems.com. What else do you want people to know about anything? I love that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know,
We covered it all.
Yeah,
We did cover
we
it
talked
all.
about a
I
lot
want
of
to say
things.
hi
And
to
I-
your mom, too. She's
I
the
would just-
greatest. I haven't seen her in a
She
while in
is,
church.
Kim,
but
yeah.
To piggyback on that parenting thing, I just want to say to parents out there, it's okay to be the parent. It is. And if you were following your kid around at the mall, you know, making sure that they're safe, you should also be looking at their devices. You have permission to be the parent in the technology. And if you don't understand what to do or how to do it, give us a call. You know, we're happy to visit with you for free to talk about this because we really do care about kids being safe online.
the phone number is
713-426-0900. 713-426-0900.
and in your female voice.
713-426-0900.
In fact, at mediasystems.com, the phone number's there, but we want to make sure that we tell people it's super awesome, guys. But the other thing, I grew up in Pennsylvania, Jaclyn, right? Pennsylvania. Back then, and I'm older than you are, but the fact that human trafficking, we didn't even hear anything about that. You know, we did hear about, hey, don't talk to strangers, don't go up to a car,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
But now it's grooming,
And-
and it's so easy for them to do.
And geographically, look where we're at.
Yeah.
We're not in Pennsylvania. We're not north. We're in a real zone.
Houston is one of the worst places in the country.
That's right.
So I worry about my grandkids in Austin,
Yeah.
or in San Antonio. The daughter her name's Austin, and my grandson is Miles. But I worry about them, and I tell my son Blake in San Antonio, hey, this is a super highway for trafficking.
That's right.
Watch the kids do the controls and everything else.
Well, we do have a video. If you email us, we'll send you a link, and you can watch the video on how to set up all the parental controls.
That's right. On
30
your
minutes. It's super easy to do.
That is another point. On your website, I've mentioned it many times, but there are resources there. There's other videos of you of an instructional nature, so they can go there at mediasystems.com. And thank you all, Jaclyn and Donnie Boutwell, Media Systems, mediasystems.com. And thank you all for listening to the show today, Successful Living with Bill Knapik. And today with Jaclyn Boutwell and Donnie Boutwell. We say hi to the whole family, all the kids and mom too, the cats, the dogs, everything else. Thanks for listening. And you can go to radiobill.net. That's right. You can see past shows, all kinds of things on there. Radiobill.net. It's right there. And thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Are you having trouble getting the Wi-Fi to work in your home? You know, if the home is over 4,000 square feet, it's going to be really tough to get the box from the service provider to do the job for you. Let me tell you about Jaclyn and Donnie from Media Systems. They have a team of high-tech professionals that know how to solve this. They also work on all kinds of home automation systems like Crestron, Lutron, and Control4. Look, if you don't mow your own yard or work on your own car, why are you wasting time with this stuff? Call Jaclyn and Donnie, your home technology advisors, and have their team take care of this for you. Media Systems has been in business for 40 years in Houston, and they're ready to help. Check them out at mediasystems.com, mediasystems.com, or call 713-426-0900, 713-426-0900, mediasystems.com.
Tune in to Successful Living with Bill Knapik, a unique, engaging lifestyle program Sundays 8 to 9 p.m. on 950 KPRC. That's Sundays 8 to 9 p.m. Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Go to radiobill.net for more info. Radiobill.net for more info. Radiobill.net for more info.
What else do you want people to know about anything? I love that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know,
We covered it all.